Welcome to the Lotus Emira Turbo SE. Today we're going to take a closer look and then go for a drive and see how this modern day Esprit Turbo stacks up. Okay, the Emira Turbo SE. So the Turbo SE badge first appeared on the Esprit, I believe, and the recipe here is very, very similar. A bit more power, a bit more focused. It's based, as the name suggests, on the Emira Turbo, which uses the 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder from the A45 AMG, I think it's called the M139, and the 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox. That's instead of the 3.5-litre supercharged V6 and 6-speed manual or auto in the Emira V6. It's another 40 horsepower, about 30 kilowatts over the standard Emira. So now we've got 294 kilowatts, I believe, and 480 newton meters. So that's around 30 kilowatts and 50 newton meters. So pretty good hike. We've also got 10% stiffer springs and dampers, I think, front and rear. Apart from that, the chassis setup's pretty similar. Once again, you can have touring or sport suspension, and then either Goodyear road tyres or Michelin Cup 2 track tyres. This has the sports chassis setup with the Goodyear tyres. We'll talk a bit more about that later. Pricing is $210,000 before on-roads and options, so $250 drive it away, depending on how crazy you go with the options boxes. This is actually the fastest Emira ever. 0 to 100 is claimed to be just 4 seconds dead. This is a properly fast car. Top speed 180 miles an hour, 181 miles an hour, which is what, 295 k's an hour. So fast car. But now let's hit some corners in it and see what it's like. Okay, so we're on a better road now, and I've been in tour drive mode, but let's put that up to sport and then track, and I can put in manual to use the paddles. But before I really get into it, let's talk about what this thing's like every day, because it's important, because Lotuses often fell down every day. This is really good. Like, it's not a Bentley interior, but no longer is the interior an excuse not to buy a Lotus. It's nice, materials are nice, Alcantara, leather, I've got wireless Apple CarPlay, I've got a screen, I've got physical controls as well as digital controls for the HVAC and stuff like that. I've got digital instruments, I've got plenty of storage, which is often overlooked in a car like this, in the door bins, under the center console. Pretty big boot and storage behind the seats as well, so this really stacks up as an everyday car. And a drive, sort of just cruising along, the ride's pretty firm, doesn't crash or anything like that, but it's certainly pretty uncompromising, even though this is a sports car, I'm aware of that. And the engine sounds pretty ordinary if I'm honest. It makes you realise how much synthetic noise is probably pumped through the speakers of an A45, because that sounds quite raughty and rich, whereas this, you've just kind of got a bit of a mechanical clatter behind you. And certainly the V6 is the pick for, I guess, a motion that makes a really, really nice sound, that car. Whereas this, yeah, no one's ever going to buy it for the way it sounds. But now I've got it in a track. Being a hydraulic setup, this has a single steering weight and rate of response, and the same with the suspension. It's passive, so we don't have any fancy drive modes. All the drive modes adjust is the engine response, the gearbox, but now put in manual, and the exhaust sound, so stability control as well. So I've got that backed off slightly to sport. So this is a good road, and let me tell you what this thing's about. The first thing is, a bit of a nose kiss there, but first thing is, this is a really fast car. It builds nicely too. There is plenty of torque, but there's a reward to be had chasing the red line, the power builds. The engine sounds better now. It's kind of got a bit of a flat planey vibe to it, flat plane V8 kind of vibe, that sort of hard-edged motorsport note. It's still not a great noise, but you can hear it. It's okay. What's actually really cool, if you put the window down, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but I'll try and get a sound of it. If you put that passenger window down, you can hear the turbo sounding like a jet spooling up. So that's actually a welcome bit of theatre. It's a shame they couldn't plumb some of that into the cabin to give you a bit more, you know, sports car entertainment, sports car theatre. Gearbox works well, it's responsive, shifts are quick, ratios are close. Probably the biggest bugbear actually is the paddles. Pardon the journalistic cliche, but it doesn't fall easy to hand. I've got to stretch for the paddles a bit. Kind of getting used to it, but you've got to make a conscious effort to reach for them. They're not just, you know, right there at your fingertips. So I can improve that, but traction's really, really good. And the steering is a real highlight. It feels quite not cumbersome, but it's definitely weighty at sort of slower speeds, just cruising speeds, and it can take some effort to wind the lock off even if you're just parking. But now it's lightened up, and you know, I'm not against electric's power steering. I'm not one of those people that decry it as awful. There's some really good electric systems out there, but there's still an advantage in terms of communication to a hydraulic setup. One thing is, you do get a bit of busyness at the wheel. It does chase sort of cambers. So when you're pushing on, the wheel can sort of, you know, jiggle and rock back and forth in your hands somewhat, which I guess is just part of the experience. But steering is really nice. You know, Lotus are known for their steering purity. Evora was always great for that, and I think this car more or less continues that. Really though, the magic's in the chassis, and yes, it is very firm. Not crazily so, but uncompromisingly so, as I said earlier. But it pays dividends now. This car is so accurate, it's so controlled, it's never flustered, fantastic body control. There's some big lumps and jumps on this road, yet, okay, the nose has kissed a couple of times, but it's a very low car. And what that does, that combination of communicative steering and great body control, gives you confidence. Especially as this car feels light. I mean, it's not light by, you know, Lotus standards. It's not a 700 kilo Elise or Elan or whatever like that, but by modern standards, it feels light, and you can throw it around then, because it also feels quite small. You're not taking up the whole road just to have a go. I would probably still choose the touring suspension setup. There's not meant to be much in it, but given how unflustered and capable this car is, I'd probably sacrifice 5-10% of that, even if there's a bit more body movement, if I could get a bit more everyday compliance, especially if you're going to be using this car for touring, for driving long distances, you know, driving holidays, stuff like that. I would like a slightly more special engine, of course, at this price point. Is a bit like the 718 boxes in that respect. Change up about between 6.5 and 7, which isn't too bad, but you know, between 7.5 and 8 would be nice. But the other thing is, like those 718 Boxsters, you've now got the torque and the power to influence the car with the throttle in tighter corners, which is always good fun. And the track stability control will let you do that, let you move the car around slightly while still having that safety net. Great brakes too. Obviously being a lighter car with good hardware, but great pedal feel. From memory, when I first drove the Emira V6, it could be a bit soft in the pedal. So either it was just that car, or they've done some revisions, because this pedal feels excellent. So how to sum up the Emira Turbo SE? Well, what's going to be really interesting is that now Porsche won't have a petrol-powered mid-engine sports car for quite a few years. Is this the Emira's time to shine? Because if you want a petrol-powered sports car, this is kind of your only option. In Australia at least, you can still get the Alpine A110 overseas, but not for very long. And this kind of feels like a more serious Alpine A110, similar in that it's not as maybe expressive in the way it handles. It doesn't have the same roll and pitch and all that, but you've got a fantastic chassis, sort of old school sports car vibes, with an engine that's, you know, acceptable, it's okay, but this is a much faster car than an Alpine. Whether it needs to be is another question, but given the money they're charging, it does feel a little bit like an Alpine A110 on steroids. I think if you're a hardcore driver, if you're out there every weekend in the twisties, or if you want to modify it, this is probably the one to have, because it is super fast and it's razor sharp and accurate. But for my money, for what the Emira does really well, I think I'd still have the V6 with the manual, just for the sound. Still a beautiful handling car. You get a more emotive noise, you get the involvement of a manual, and to go with those very cool junior supercar looks. So I think for my money, I'd still go with the V6, which is coming back for model year 26, and hopefully might have a go on one of those at some stage as well, so we can see. But certainly this is a very impressive sports car. Maybe the price is a little high, but there aren't too many cars that would run away from this thing on a twisty road. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.